Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. In this video, I'm continuing my top 100 favorite albums of all time. I'm at number 52 on my list, and this one's another big album. I've been doing some pretty big albums lately. I've realized probably much lower on my list than most people. Like I just got done with Hotel California and Led Zeppelin 2. This one's one that most people would put probably in their top 5 favorite albums of all time. I like it, not as much as other people, but it's called Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. Came out in 1965. It's his sixth studio album. Obviously, Bob Dylan, one of the all-time greats, songwriters, known as a folk singer. And I'm a Bob Dylan fan. I had one of his albums already on my list, Blood on the Tracks. It was farther down on my list, and I have another Bob Dylan higher on my list that will be coming up. So the second Bob Dylan album I've had on my list of 100 favorite albums. I only have three. Like I said, I'm a pretty big fan of his. I would say listen to a lot of his albums. There's a lot of songs I don't like. There's like a couple really good ones with a lot of songs that I don't like. He's kind of hit or miss sometimes, but he has so many albums. I couldn't even cover all of his albums. He just has so many albums, but I just try to cover his big ones. Obviously, Highway 61 Visited usually is a lot of times I've heard people put it number one on the list. Definitely a top 5 type album. Again, so really like it. I'd say it's about half of a really good album, half not really good album. That's why I have it this low at 52. Has some, of course, his best iconic song on it, which really helps. But looking up research, it's really the first album that he really integrated rock music. His first 4 albums were all just acoustic, him and acoustic guitar and a harmonica, basically, kind of old school folk music. But then, I guess with his 5th album, he started to integrate some rock music, and then this one, his 6th album, every song has electric guitar on it, and it totally changed his sound, definitely from his first 4 albums. Of course, this had some controversy to it. There's this during this time period when he made this album, he was at the Newport Folk Festival, and he famously got booed on stage because he played electric guitar. I guess folk music aficionados were like, "You're like betraying the folk music, that you were founded on." And I guess folk music people only like acoustic guitars. And so they felt betrayed when he got the electric guitar out and he was booed, which is it's kind of strange. Like, why do you need to boo him on that? It's not that big of a deal, but I guess to the hardcore folk enthusiasts, it was a big deal. Anyway, so it was interesting. Listening to this album, you really hear Bob Dylan changing his sound a little bit. He gets a little more bluesy. It's funny because he's like just this straight out protest folk singer. And now he's getting a little more bluesier. He's got a backup band now, and it's more bluesier sounding on some songs, and much more fuller sound, which is, I think, really good on some of the music. Still the usual Bob Dylan type music, where most of the songs are, like I said, he doesn't really do a lot of verse, chorus. He usually just does a bunch of choruses, and he loves to do really long songs with lots of verses, I should say, and not really much of a chorus, and so he has a unique style that you see still in this. Still a big album. Went number 3 in the U.S., number 4 in the U.K. It's number 4 on Rolling Stone's top 500 albums in 2012. That's like the highest it really rated on Rolling Stone's album. So top 4 album all time. I think the newest to 2020, it was farther down. I forget how far down, but it wasn't quite at number 4. It was like number 16 or something. But again, highly rated by all critics. And Bob Dylan's like probably the most, besides the Beatles or something like that, is probably the most highly acclaimed musician of all time, I would say. Well respected, and all that by critics. Of course, his most famous song came off this album, Like a Rolling Stone, which went number 1 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs. Rolling Stone's considered the greatest song of all time. Back in 2010 and 2021, I guess they redid the list and it came number 4, so still top 4 best song according to Rolling Stones. And Rolling Stones magazine almost seems like was made off of the song, like a Rolling Stone, and Rolling Stone magazine is like the magazine for rock and roll music, basically. It went U.S. platinum and U.K. gold, so not as highly bought album like the other albums I talked about. Um, but none of his albums, I feel like Bob Dylan, none of his albums were like big, as big bestsellers like as a lot of the rock albums are. So I'd say he's a folk singer who kind of implemented a kind of folk rock to his music, and a little bluesier style on this. There's a song that he wrote at this time that's not on the album that's a really great. One of my favorite Bob Dylan songs is "Positively Fourth Street," which he put out as a single, but he could have put on this album, which is too bad. I kind of wish he would have. It would help the album a little more. It already is. It's not a real long album. It's only like 9 songs long, or only 9 songs. Of course, some of the songs are really long, but only 9 songs on the album itself. Like I said, really the only big one that I knew was "Like a Rolling Stone" is really the big hit off this album. Um, but I would say there's 5 good songs on here, and the other 4 I'm not crazy about. That's why it's at number 52. If he could have balanced it with those 4 songs and put "Positively 4th Street" on there, and maybe got some better songs in there, uh, instead of just 5 good songs, could have had 7 or 8 good songs. This would be much higher on my list. Okay, definitely very enjoyable. I like Bob Dylan. So let me get to my top 3. Um, 2 songs that didn't make my top 3 that I liked was "Ballad of the Thin Man." Very interesting song, kind of a long song. Uh, yeah, very interesting. Definitely worth a listen. And "Tombstone Blues" was also, I thought, was a pretty good song on here. But number 3 on my list, I'm going to go with "Desolation Row," which is the last song on the album, I believe. It's an 11-minute song. I mean, long song, but definitely a treat. Like a song I never heard of before, didn't know anything about. Of course, you couldn't put this on the radio; it's too long. So that's why I never heard it probably until I listened to the album. But I've heard a lot of people say they love this song. It's definitely like a favorite Bob Dylan song amongst a lot of Bob Dylan fans. But yeah, it definitely was a treat when I listened. I was like, wow, this is a really good song. I didn't mind it being 11 minutes long. Anyway, so number 3, "Desolation Row." Number two is Green as "Queen Jane Approximately," and this is another good song I never heard of before, and it's really catchy. Good, actually, pretty good vocals as far as Bob Dylan vocals go, and very another really good melody. One of the best melodies I've heard of him. Uh, yeah, I can't say I've looked at the lyrics enough to know what it's about, but it's just a really nice, catchy kind of pop song almost. Real, yeah, really surprised like how great I love this song. It's a song I listen to a lot more now after listening to this album. And that's why I have number 2 on this list. Number 1, of course, is the song I talked about, "Like a Rolling Stone." How can you not put it number 1? It's hard not to put that number 1, probably favorite Bob Dylan song of all time. I feel like it's got one of the catchiest tunes that he's ever written. Love how it begins with the organ and everything. And I think actually really good. Bob Dylan's not good for vocals normally, but I thought his vocals were pretty good for this. And it's probably his most catchy chorus. He's not known for, I think, writing really good catchy choruses that you sing out to, but you have to sing out when you listen to the chorus of this song. How does it feel? How does it feel to be on your own, like a rolling stone? I mean, it's so fun to sing to. Yeah, definitely one of the best choruses that he's written, because usually his choruses are very short and just kind of implemented throughout the song. But this has more of a verse chorus structure to it, like a normal song, I would say has. Anyways, and it's great lyrically, talking about somebody who was like wealthy and then now she's not, but she seemed like she treated people bad, so it's like you don't feel bad for her, and it's like you don't. And it's the whole idea of like you you got nothing. There's one line I believe something um, about if you have nothing, you have nothing to lose and stuff like that, and like you don't realize what you have when you have it well until you reach rock bottom. Anyway, so I love the lyrics, really good lyrics here about this person, this woman in the story. So I love storytelling. It kind of tells a good